to my lesson that I'd like to teach you. First is to teach you how to count using base-5 numeration. Next, I'd like to use that base counting system to do simple addition. And then, because I'm trying to stick to a Japanese theme with my website, and I'm kind of obsessed with it, I would like to show you base-5 counting system and the Japanese soroban. Let's use an analogy in order to make this a little bit more simple to understand. If I were to count up from 0 to 4 in Japanese, it would look something like this. So, more than likely you're looking at this and going, yeah, so? Well, more or less what I'm trying to get across is that these symbols, if you saw them, let's say in a manga, you wouldn't really know what they meant off the top of your head. So let's look at numbers above 4 as foreign letters. We don't know what they are. So, all we do know is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are the only symbols that we know exist and that we understand. If you were to see 6 or 7 or 8, these would look kind of like this. They wouldn't mean anything to you because these are the only numbers that matter in the base-5 counting system. Perhaps the simplest way to explain counting by the base-5 numeration is to look at a number line. Now, we're all familiar with the base-10 numeration, which is basically 0 through 9. Now there are 10 digits, because we're looking at whole numbers, not counting numbers. Whole numbers include the number 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You count that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 numbers or symbols in the base 10 system. What happens is when we get up to 9, we now have to say that there is 1 10 and 0 ones. So you're probably familiar with scientific notation, where you take the number 147 and say there's 1 times 100 plus 4 times 10 plus 7 times 1. So all this is saying, once you write it all out, is 147. But you can break that down further and say there are 7 ones, there are 4 tens, and there is 1 100s. So when we're counting, we're actually going 0 ones, 1 1, 2 ones, 3 ones, 4 ones, 5 1, 6 ones, 7 ones, 8 ones, 9 ones, but now we've run out of symbols. So now we need to take of these symbols and indicate there are even more than 9. And how we do that is saying, okay, well, there are now 1 group of 10s and 0 ones. So to make this more simple, let's think of it as kind of trying to collect everything together and put it in where it belongs, kind of like cleaning your room. Yay, math and cleaning your room. So we have 26 stars here. Now it's easy enough to go, okay, 2 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, that's 26 stars. Now let's just pretend that we can't multiply and we want to figure out how many numbers or how many stars there are and how we want it written out in base 10 numeration. We would start by seeing how many groups of 10 we have. So we'll start by circling how many groups of 10 we have. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll circle it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so we have as many groups of 10 as we can get. How many of that? We have 2 groups of 10. So in the 10 slot, we'll put a 2. Now how many ones do we have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there are 6 ones left, so we fill in the 1 slot in the 6. So we can tell that there are 26 stars in the pattern.
Yeah, we'll be counting stars.
Next, let's fill in the number line for base 5 counting. So kind of like this number line, we're going to fill that in, but counting with base 5s. Now it's important to remember that with base 5, the only numbers you have are the first 5. So you actually only have these digits that you can use. None of these numbers are in the equation. So we completely ignore those numbers. So to start off, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what? Well, it's kind of like when we had the tens numbers, we had the ones position, and the tens positions, and the hundreds position. Like that, we have the ones position, but instead of the tens position, we have the fives position. So what that means is instead of every time we have a group of 10, we add a 1, it's now how many times we have a group of 5. So if we were going to circle these stars in base 5 notation, we would start out by saying how many groups of 5 we have. That's one group of 5. 2 groups of 5. 3 groups of 5. So let's say, ignoring these stars, that this is what we have. What would we put in the 5's position? Well, because we have 3 groups of 5, we would put a 3 here. So coming back to the number line, once we hit 4, instead of 5, because we don't know what 5 is, that's a foreign symbol, we only know what these are. We have to now indicate that, okay, when we reach 4, instead of 5, we actually have one group of 5 and 0 ones. Okay? So then the next number, what do you think that would be? Well, if we add one more to the mix, we'll have one group of 5 and 1 1. The next number, one group of 5 and 2 ones. One group of 5, 3 ones. One group of 5, 4 ones. Now what? Well, we can't put 15 because we don't know what 5 is. Well, what did we do last time? Well, we have 4 ones. If we add one more to that, that creates another group of 5. So if we have 2 groups of 5, we now write, okay, 2 groups of 5 and 0 1. So let's find out what 26 stars in the base 10 counting system looks like in the base 5 counting system. So we already know we have 3 groups of 5. So let's continue working, just like we did before with base 10, by circling groups of 5. Alright, so how many groups of 5 do we have? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now what does it mean if we have 5 groups of 5? Well, after 5s, we would have to have another group. Now if we look back at base 10, we have 1s, and then we have 10s, and then we have hundreds. But what are hundreds? Couldn't you say that instead of 100s, you have 10 groups of 10? That doesn't make sense. What's 10 times 10? 100. So really, what you're saying is you have 1s, then 10s, then 10 groups of 10s, and then what's 1,000? Well, 1,000 would be 10 groups of 10 groups. So if that's not confusing enough, let's just jump back, keep it simple. We have the 1s group, we have 5 groups, but then if we have 5 groups of 5, well, what's 5 times 25, or what's 5 times 5? I already gave the answer, 25. So now we can say that this is the 25s group. So looking at this, we have another group that we could circle. As one group of 5 groups of 5. So in the ones place, we have 1, so we put that. How many groups of 5 do we have by themselves? Well, because we only have the ones, but we don't have any more groups of 5 outside of this one, this big 5 groups of 5, we'd have to put a 0. And then if we look at 25s, we could say, well, we have one group of 5 groups of 5. So in base 5 notation, 26 in the tens is 1, 0, 1, base 5. And that's how you write something in base 5, is with the word 5 just below it as a superscript. So just in case you're feeling a little lost, don't worry. I was lost at this point when I was learning how to do this. What helped me was doing lots of example questions. So I'll work through you with another question, and then I'll give you a question to try on your own. Now these beautifully drawn objects are obviously macadamia nuts, which I know you have plenty of access to at the moment. So if you want, when you do your practice question that I'll give you, you can take macadamia nuts and set them all up and group them right in front of you rather than having to draw this all out. Let's start by figuring out how many macadamia nuts we have in base 10 notation, because we already understand that. So what's the first placeholder that we have in the base 10's counting system? Well, of course, we have the ones. So then what's the second placeholder that we have? Well, how many groups of 1? We need 10. So this is the tens slot. So let's start by grouping. Nine, 10. And we have 3 left over. So if we come over here, how many groups of 10 do we have?
1, 2, 3.
So we have 3 groups of 10. How many ones do we have?
1, 2, 3.
We have 3 groups of, or we have 3 ones. So if we wanted to do this in base 5 notation, what is the first placeholder? Well, just like the base 10s, we have the ones. So what would be in the next slot? Well, we know that the next slot we're looking for groups of 5. So this will tell us how many groups of 5 we have. And then the next slot, we remember that we're looking for 5 groups of 5. So what would that be? 5 groups of 5. 5 times 25, or I did it again. 5 times 5 is 25. So this is the 25's position. So we'll start out by looking for groups of 5. That's all we got. So, how many groups of 5 do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5 groups of 5, so we should put another box to indicate that this is another group. So to start out, how many ones do we have? 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 ones. Fill in 3 in the ones. How many 5s do we have? Well, there's just this one 5, group of 5 by itself, so we'll write a 1. How many groups of 5 do we have? We have this big one right here. So we put a 1 there. So now we know there are 25s and one group of 5. There's one group of 25s. There's one group of 5s, and there's 3 groups of 1s. So if we wanted to convert that over to 10s, what would that look like? Well, what would it look like if we did 33 in scientific notation? That would look like 3 times 10 plus 3 times 1. Well, it's the same if we're counting in base 5. So if we wanted to write it like that, we would say 1 times 25 for the first lot of 25s plus 1 times 5 plus 3 times 1. Now if we add that all up, we'd have 25 plus 5 plus 3. What is that up to? 25 plus 5 is 30, and 30 plus 3 is 30. Now it's your chance to try and solve one of these questions on your own. What I want you to do is take out a bag of macadamia nuts, and if you count, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 times 6 is 48, so there are 48 nuts. Make sure you sit down at the table. You don't have to arrange them all neat like this, but make sure you have 48 macadamia nuts, and I want you to work on grouping them into groups of 5, then groups, if you can get groups of 25, and then figure out, by filling in your slots of 25s, 5s, and 1s, what 48 looks like written in base 5 notation. Now if 143 was your answer, then great, means you got this concept. You can skip over the next part if you want. If not, yes, you have to sit down, you have to watch this video and see what you did differently and figure out what you can do next time to change that. Let's start by making groups of 5. Okay, so now that we've circled all the groups of 5 we can find, let's find out how many groups of 5 groups of 5 we can find. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So now we have 4 groups of 5 left over and 3 1s. So we want to fill in the blank. We have 1 group of 25s, 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of 5s, and 1, 2, 3 1s. So if you wrote this out, it would look like 143 base 5.